Last night, the House of Representatives continued the debate on a bill from D66 and several other parties to ban so-called conversion practices. And in the media, this is repeatedly presented as a ban on gay conversion therapy. But anyone who carefully studies the text of the bill will see that it goes much further than that. Because in the text of the proposal, it is not just about changing or suppressing a homosexual orientation. No, it is broadly about sexual orientation or gender identity. And during my contribution a few months ago, I already paid extensive attention to that element of gender identity. I won't repeat that here, because last night I focused once again on the element of sexual orientation. And what happened then was quite remarkable. Take a look with me. Thank you, Chair. According to the bill, it is, among other things, prohibited to attempt to change or suppress someone's sexual orientation, with Ms. Poluzma noting that a sexual orientation is unchangeable and that everyone should be able to experience their sexual orientation freely, without it being suppressed. And as an example, both in the media and just now by Ms. Poluzma herself in her introduction, reference is made to gay conversion therapy, but the legal term chosen, sexual orientation, is much broader than just a homosexual orientation. For instance, pedophilia, necrophilia, zoophilia, and any other perversions could also be classified as a sexual orientation. So, based on the wording of the bill as it currently stands, it would also be prohibited to attempt to suppress someone's pedophilic feelings. And my question is, was this a deliberate choice? Does Ms. Poluzma also consider pedophilia to be a respected identity? Or does she agree with the FVD that pedophilia is indeed a highly reprehensible orientation that should always be able to be suppressed, and that it should never be forbidden to take any action whatsoever to help people get rid of their pedophilic feelings?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will come back to the medical exception in detail shortly, because the concerns Mr. Van Meijeren has are being addressed in the healthcare sector by a professional group that is properly certified and must comply with the law, including all guidelines and protocols. I will come back to that later, but I do not share Mr. Van Meijeren's concerns.
My question is explicitly aimed at actions that fall outside the medical exception. So actions that are performed by persons who are not registered.
Yes, but Mr. President, this is a bit of a strange question, because any action that concerns someone's health, not performed by people who have a big registration or are a medical professional, should be rejected at all times. So I can go looking for something, but we're not going to put that whole field up for discussion here. And that's not what this law is about either.
Finally, no, Mr. President, it's about the focus, and the bill makes a distinction between actions within the medical exception and actions outside the medical exception. And it's quite possible that people with pedophilic feelings are or want to be treated by people who don't have a big registration. According to the text of the proposal as it stands now, that would be prohibited. So I'm not talking about the medical exception. I'm talking about actions outside the medical exception, whether that's a conversation with the priest or with another therapist. This is not about the medical exception. I'm familiar with that. My question is whether those actions outside the medical exception will also be prohibited, or whether that was a deliberate choice, because that's how the text of the bill currently stands, or whether Ms. Poluzma agrees with me that the text should be amended so that any actions, regardless of whether they are carried out by a big registered professional or not, must always be permitted when they are aimed at suppressing pedophilic feelings.
No, well, Chair, I think it's best if we return to the bill at hand, which is what this is about. Where I am also, in answering the many questions that have been raised about this, on my way. And there are a number of issues. We have the medical exception, and we have submitted the amendment, which a number of people, because the concerns were justified, among others Mr. Boswick, but also Ms. Bicker and, I believe, Mr. Six Dijkstra, where, with the amendment and the tightened standard, we have addressed the concerns that exist.
So I am not answering the question, sir.
Diederik van Dijk, I have given you 3 interruptions.
As you saw, Ms. Poluzma pretended not to understand my question and skirted around the issue just to avoid confirming that my interpretation of the bill is indeed correct. She suddenly started talking about the medical exception. Well, that concerns the fact that the ban will not apply to doctors or other big registered professionals. But my question, as I repeatedly said, was purely focused on actions outside of that medical exception. After all, there is a whole world of therapists, psychologists, spiritual counselors, and countless other care providers who are not registered, for whom it will soon indeed be forbidden to carry out actions aimed at suppressing the pedophilic feelings of their clients. And you would expect that this could never be the intention, that no one is waiting for this, and that if I bring this to attention, it would be adjusted so that this does remain possible. But the fact that this is not happening and that it is being dodged in this way is extremely worrying. Especially in combination with the fact that former D66 MP Sidney Smeets, who resigned after it became known that he allegedly had sex with underage boys and that his worst fantasy is to have sex with even younger boys. He himself stated that he wrote this bill. And on top of that, a few years ago at a congress of the D66 youth, a motion was passed to normalize pedophilia. It is too disgusting for words, and Forum for Democracy will never accept that pedophilia is regarded as a respected identity. We will therefore continue to resist this proposal tooth and nail, as well as all those other perverse proposals coming from D66. Support us in this fight. Join our movement and, of course, vote for Forum for Democracy.